The backbends of Surya Namaskar. What is appropriate? What should we do? Is it baby cobra, cobra, upward facing dog? Why or why not should we choose these different modifications and expressions of the pose? In this video, we're going to take a closer look at that and break it down. Before we, jump into modifications and variations, I think it's important that we are clear where the sun salutation came from and what the original pose actually is in the backbend. And the answer is, from my lineage, at least that I'm referring to, we're looking at Ashtanga, right? So we're looking at Ashtanga Vinyasa, which introduced the sun salutations A and B to the general populace as part of the practice. And in Ashtanga, the backbend that we do is upward facing dog. So it looks something like this. I inhale, lift my arms up, exhale, forward fold, inhale, halfway lift, exhale, lower down chaturanga, inhale, upward facing dog, exhale, downward facing dog. And that's where the practice is. However, so that's the traditional series that we are drawing from. And I always just feel like it's just good practice for us to know and acknowledge where these different postures have come from. Upward facing dog, it's kind of a big ass backbend. It's kind of a big thing to do. And either we might not feel warmed up for it yet, our spines might not like to be in that much extension, or some days we just might need to take it down a notch, or maybe not put so much weight on our hands, in which case modifying that is a great idea. So the question becomes, which modifications and why? So when I'm doing upward facing dog, the intention of upward facing dog is a lot of engagement through the legs, engagement through the core, and working extension through the upper spine. If you look at upward facing dog, my thighs need to lift. My glutes need to roll towards my heels. I actively pull my heart forward and through. In other words, this is an active backbend. This is part of the sun salutations, usually taught at the beginning of the class. We are warming up the big muscles of the body. We are engaging the big muscles of the legs. We are starting to warm up the spine and extension and flexion. So there needs to be an activation. All too often in sun salutations, this is what I see. People coming down, moving into a backbend, moving into downward facing dog. So if I'm doing this kind of backbend here, which is kind of some kind of cobra pose, am I using my legs? Am I using my back muscles, or am I just propping myself on my arms and moving into my flexibility? I think I am. So rather than doing that, which we'll call cobra, so this is cobra pose, notice my pelvis is down. Rather than do that, I'd say baby cobra. So in baby cobra, I'm keeping my pelvis down. My legs are engaged. This is important. Legs are engaged. Tailbone is lengthening. And then I should be able to even lift my hands. So I'm using and warming up the big muscles of my back and working my legs. I'd much rather see that. And if it's early in the class, I don't really want people moving into this pose. This is cobra, full cobra, because it's way too much. This is a big backbend, and it's too easy to totally disengage your legs and just flop into this pose. And we don't want that as part of a moving sun salutation where we're trying to warm up and activate the big muscles of the body. So, long story short, in my opinion, if you're going to modify the sun salutation, which is a great idea and great option, modify it to baby cobra. Make sure the legs are engaged. Make sure the spinal muscles are engaged. This gives people a lot of protection here. They can't go too far, right? They can't shove themselves too deeply into a pose, but they're really working the muscles of the back to lift themselves up. Or they can do up dog, but their thighs have to be lifted and active, and they have to be really pulling their chest forward and through. So we're looking for backbends that are activating and can be safely done within the flow of the sequence. So for that reason, I'm going to say nix to the big cobra, which is where your pelvis stays down, and say thumbs up to baby cobra, where you're really working the muscles of your back, or upward facing dog, of course. All right, everybody, I hope that shed a little light on the different variations of these backbends that we can do in the sun salutations and why I personally like baby cobra or up dog. Baby cobra is the modification and up dog is kind of the full meal deal. If you have other thoughts, put them in the comments below or ask. Love to hear from you. And of course, sign up, subscribe for more tips. See you on the mat.